now start with the prayer. Om Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Hari Om. We are doing the question and answer session in Vedanta, and one question that was asked is the theory of relativity, Einstein's theory of relativity and Vedanta, are they really compatible or not? Because this is more advanced science, and Vedanta is the ultimate science. Then how do they agree or disagree? So here is a perspective, and first let's look at what is the theory of relativity. You can postulate the theory of relativity in terms of three laws. One is the speed of light is constant in vacuum. That's number one. Number two, the space and time are relative, and it depends upon the frame of reference of the observer. So depending on the observer, space and time also changes. And the third is, if two observers are going on the same speed without acceleration, then the physical laws are the same. That's the third law, you can say, is the essence of theory of relativity. Now, what does Vedanta say? Look at this problem here. Einstein's theory of relativity depends upon the observer. So observer seems to be changing in the Einstein theory depending upon the frame of reference. So depending upon each frame of reference, there are different observers. Therefore, the statement is, for a given observer, the laws are same, and if their space and time also depends on the observer. Now the question we pose is, who is an observer? Is an observer independent or relative? According to Einstein, it's relative because observer is changing depending upon the frame of reference, and frame of reference can be different. But according to Vedanta, I am the only observer. So I am the only subject and everything else is an object. And from my point, everything comes under observed. And I am the only observer and I cannot be observed. What's interesting is, I cannot be an observer. Now, who really exactly is an observer? Even though when say I am an observer, I am observing using the mind as a tool. So I need a tool. Without the tool I cannot see. Just as I need a tool of telescope to see the distant stars and a microscope to see the very fine particles, and without the tool I will not be able to see. Therefore, I need a tool to see, and the tool is the mind. And using the mind, I can see. So I am the observer, and the mind is the tool, and observed is the whatever I am observing. So in terms of space, time, and all that. But Vedanta says, I am the only observer though. So it's not observer reference. And what about you? What about him? He is also an observer. From my reference, it is I am the only observer. From your reference, you are the only observer. So, in a way, statement is right. From the point of each observer, the space-time varies. That is true. Vedanta says also. But only difference is the observer is independent of the frame of reference itself. Because there is only one frame of reference from each point, and there are no relative two frames of points for me to compare. That's where the difference between the Einstein theory of relativity and Vedanta is. Why do you say I am the only observer? What about him? For me, you are also an observer. And how do you prove that? We do prove every day. when we go from a waking state to dream state to ultimately deep sleep state, where I am only there and I fold the whole world, so-called space-time is also folded, and I am there independent of space and time also. So space and time is not relative to an observer also. So that statement differs from the Einstein theory, where I am independent of space and time. I transcend the time of space and time, but it cannot be measured because I need an instrument for that. Mind is folded, but I am not folded. So therefore, I am is there in the deep sleep state, and I am there in the waking state. I am there in the dream state. And the waking state, space and time is different from dream state, space and time. They are all relatives for each frame. So my time can go very fast. For in the dream, I can go from his childhood all the way to old age in the same dream. Yet, from the point, for a dreamer doesn't feel inconsistency. For him, that's all within the realm of, in his frame of reference. That is okay. So for each relative frame, so we do agree with the relativity, where the relativity depends upon the who is experiencer. So in the dream, I am a dreamer experiencer, and the dream world is real for me, and in that frame of reference, everything is okay. In the waking state, the statement, the observer is a waker, and the frame of reference is different, and we define space and time later in terms of the gaps and all that. But point from the Einsteinian theory is that everything is relative for us except the observer, who is a subject, is independent of any frame of reference, and all frames of references come or keep changing. So they are relative, but observer is independent of any system. And that is I am, and that in fact is infinite, says Vedanta, and from infinite there is no observed even. So there is only the pure Satchidananda Swarupam. That is the absolute truth, that is absolute reference, but in the relative, everything becomes a Vyavaharika Satyam or transactional reality. Therefore, we have no conflict with the Einsteinian theory, but we also say that there is an independent observer in the system, and that is I am. That's beyond even the theory of relativity. With that we stop. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om.